A family's ambition for fame leads them to weave a dark and eerie tapestry of lies. As their stories grow more bizarre, he must confront the terrifying consequences of living in their manufactured world.
My name is Alex, I am 24 years old, and my parents are crazy. Let me explain. But get ready for the creepiest story of your life. I had an ordinary family. My dad was a store manager, my mom was a housewife. Everything was like everyone else: a vacation at the seaside once a year, trips to visit relatives, weekend get-togethers with friends, holidays with the whole family. I had an ordinary childhood. My parents were always in the middle, not overdoing it with religion, with studies, or with anything else. Just a stable life. But when they started watching one reality show on TV, everything changed. It was a show about family stories. Families had to share their experiences, reveal secrets, and survive extreme situations. I was 16 then, and I thought it was embarrassing to sit in front of the TV all evening. But my parents were like zombies. Every day they rushed home to have time to watch the show. It was simply impossible to tear them away from the TV. And God forbid they get distracted at that moment. I remember thinking it was some old-fashioned tradition. However, what started as a simple interest quickly took a darker turn. After a few months of being fascinated by the show, they decided to apply for it themselves. "Alex, we have an idea," Mom said, her voice tense. "We want our family to be on TV. We need to embellish our story a little to have a chance of being on the program." Dad nodded in agreement. I didn't get it right away. They went on to explain that without it, their lives wouldn't be interesting, that they needed to come up with something unique. And then they started making up stories about me being an unusual child, with unimaginable abilities, that our family had once been of noble birth, but had hidden their true history to avoid persecution. Dad said that there had once been a high-profile killer in our family, who had committed crimes but was hidden behind the facade of an ordinary life. "No one should know the truth, but if we say that our family has been through real horrors, everyone will want to watch," he said, his eyes shining with a fanatical gleam. My mother added that we had changed a lot since the tragedy. I didn't know what she was talking about, but she would soon reveal the details. She claimed that when I was 10 years old, I was close to death due to some mysterious illness, but miraculously survived. She even claimed that at that moment I had undergone an operation that no one knew about, and that I allegedly had an artificial organ that was put in place of one of my internal organs. I was shocked by such words and by the fact that she could come up with something so absurd. From that moment on, my life changed. Once a week, TV people would come to our house. My parents would apply to literally every show they could. They were just crazy. This went on for a year. During that year, almost all of my parents' friends turned away from them, because it was literally impossible to communicate with them. They were constantly making up stories about our lives and, it seemed, they believed it themselves. I saw where it was all heading, but at that moment I just wanted to be away from them. Then I went to college in another state. While I was studying, I vaguely heard that there were new stories and new reality shows. But I consciously distanced myself from all of this. I tried not to watch or ask. I rarely came home, and on the phone we talked more about my studies. In college I met a girl, Sarah. We have been dating for 3 years now. I know her family. We often come to visit them on weekends and holidays. But she is still not with mine, and she really insisted that I bring her home. My parents knew that I had a girlfriend, I told them on the phone. By the way, in the last year I almost did not hear news stories about the reality show and thought that they finally got tired of lying for the sake of fame. I really felt a little better and decided that I would not tell Sarah that embarrassing situation. Why stir up the past? But when we came to my parents, it was horror. It turns out that we have a new legend. My family was allegedly connected with occult practices. We live in a house built on the site of an ancient burial. All this sounded so crazy that I could not even believe that my parents, ordinary people, came up with such things in their minds. What we saw when we came home was just madness. Several stalkers lived in the house. These are YouTubers who are looking for interesting content, like haunted houses, to gain subscribers. There was a TV crew car in the yard. I think it was the Travel Channel. All I could think when I saw this was that Sarah was going to run away from me. She would think I was as crazy as them. We went into the house. At that moment, my dad was standing in front of the Ghost Adventures camera and claiming that our house was haunted. He said that our house was built on the site of an old cemetery, and that we often encounter various mystical events. Sarah laughed. She said my parents were so funny. It was so cool to come up with such an idea. She said I should create their own YouTube channel for them. But she didn't know yet that they believed in what they were saying. It wasn't just for show, to become famous or make money. It was a legend they lived in constantly, 24/7. They completely believed in what they were saying. I had a lump in my throat. It hurt me to look at them like that. And I was ashamed in front of Sarah. I was terrified that we would have dinner with them alone, and what else they would come up with and convince Sarah of. The dinner was in all its traditions. Mom said that sometimes she hears strange whispers at night, and Dad claimed that he saw silhouettes in old photographs that were not there when he took them. Each story became darker and more mysterious. And I was plunging deeper and deeper into this nightmare, trying to understand where reality ends and fiction begins. I noticed that strange attributes appeared in our house, antique objects that allegedly belonged to a great-grandfather, whom I never knew. They began to fill the house with strange images, drawn by hand, to support their mystical theory. I constantly felt like I was in some kind of nightmare, where each day became more surreal. Sarah and I stayed in our house for 2 days. On the third day, I woke up from screaming and yelling. I jumped out of bed and ran towards the sound. When I ran into my parents' room, I saw that my mother was sitting in a chair in front of some student's GoPro camera and was saying that my father was suffering from psychosis because he saw too much that should not be there. At that moment, he was curled up on the bed and convulsively moaning. This moment was a turning point. I began to realize that my whole life was one big performance that they composed for other people. My family was no longer what I knew them to be. They had truly gone crazy. I ran into the room and quickly started packing my suitcase. I had enough. I couldn't watch this show anymore. Sarah tried to calm me down the whole way. She says that I'm taking this situation too much to heart. My parents are funny, they live an unconventional life, they take everyone for fools, and they laugh in their bedroom at night. But I know that's not true. They really believe in what they say. I'm sure they have some problems in their heads. Sarah is angry about this. She says that a lot of people are hyping up YouTube these days, but only a few succeed, and my parents are one of those people who make people believe. It's really cool, she says, and I'm boring. I don't understand why she admires them so much. The strangest thing is that she started telling our mutual friends about them in such a context, as if they were very modern and advanced. They came up with such a legend to make money. I'm completely confused. I was embarrassed to introduce Sarah to my parents because I thought she would dump me after seeing them. But she seems to have become a fan and calls me boring. What's wrong with me? Has the world gone mad?